Hello and welcome to our Year of Goddess Magic for July. The goddess we are honoring this month is Kuan Yin, and our theme for the month is compassion. So before we begin with these themes, I invite you to go ahead and take a nice deep breath and allow yourself to settle into your body, into this time and this place, into your landscape of living and all that it holds. I know there is a lot that calls to us for time and attention. I thank you for taking some of that time and attention and using it here today. A lot clamors at us for time and attention. So taking another deep breath, and for this moment, letting all of that fall away and coming back to a place of homecoming and return, of compassion and love that you always carry within you, that's always present in your own heart. Feeling your feet on this earth, feeling your body in this time and this place, presencing yourself in your landscape of wholeness and aliveness. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for proceeding through this year's unfolding with me. So I am Molly Reamer, the creatrix of 30 Days of Goddess, which is a daily practice that hopefully you find nurturing and inspiring. I really find that just as little as 15 minutes a day of daily practice can really move you from stressed to centered. And what I endeavor to create is a blessing basket of possible resources that you can use to create moments of small sacredness in your own life. So 30 Days of Goddess, a year of Goddess Magic, really is about making space for the sacred and for yourself in your everyday. What that looks like will be determined by your own life and what fits in your own life. But I always encourage us to start where our feet are, to start with our lives as they are right now, not our imagined future selves, not imagined perfection, not trying to emulate something that we see on social media, but starting with our own lives right now. So that leads us straight in to our theme of compassion. May we have compassion for ourselves, our small human selves, our infinite, expansive, and magical selves, and our complex and beautiful lives that hold so many things, And so as always, if you go to 30daysofgoddess.com, you will find your sampler pack of practice snapshot cards to help anchor you into the practice as this whole month unfolds. So you can print those out and use them as a touchstone, as a root, as a check-in place, as an affirmation, as a point of connection as this whole month unfolds. And then if you're a member of the Goddess Magic community on Patreon, which I welcome you to become one of those members, then you receive the whole set of snapshot cards to print, as well as our Kuan Yin card and little ritual packet there, which you can then assemble into, again, another touchstone for your practices throughout the month. So anyway, lots to consider, and we'll explore more about Kuan Yin in our Herb of the Month and our Goddess of the Month video, which will start July. So there will be more about those things there. So feel free to hop over to 30daysofgoddess.com. If you're brand new to this practice, go to 30daysofgoddess.com/101, and you'll find a full resource for getting started, including a printable journal, printable card sets, etc. So you can always start right here, right now. I have been guiding this practice for 5 years now, and I do find that sometimes people find it, there's so much they don't know where to begin. So if you go to that 101 page, just start right there. Don't worry about going backwards. Don't worry about catching up. Literally start where your feet are. There is so much power in that practice, and there's so much power in coming back home to self-compassion, to trust, to listening. Life really is a practice and a process of returning again and again and again. Okay, so got a little off there with my little topic, but I did want to start with the first poem, or the first section for July from our Year of Goddess Magic guidebook, which is becoming very hefty. It's very hefty, very packed with magic. And the reminder here is, and this is really an important reminder I find for summer, now is the time for looking with clarity at our lives and choices. Time to interrupt cycles that do us harm and to welcome in change. A time to inhabit joy and to allow ourselves to play. It is time to loosen our limits and to lean into the expansive. It is time to be here for our own lives, alive with curiosity, open to enchantment, and dedicated to living our magic with wholeness and trust. So the summer for me is this absolutely potent and vibrant time for contemplating change. So there's a lot that calls to us, and I really feel like in the summer is when we begin to explore a vision of what might be. So the seed dreams of earlier in this year, the wisdom of cave time, all of that has taken root. It has begun to grow. It has flourished. Things have bloomed. And now we are at the precipice. We're at the crossroads of choice and change, of deciding what next, So we've seen what is flourishing. We've lifted things up into the light of summer. And it's time, there's a doorway and there's an invitation. It's a very liminal space of transformation. It's not the intense inward transformation that happens in the winter. It's this more vibrant call, this creative, inspired, visionary time of the year where you can vision sometimes very clearly what you wish to see become, how you wish your life to be, what you are creating, what is capturing your attention, what you want to devote to, what you want to recommit to. It's this potent time of visioning what might be. So some additional questions to consider this month as we consider Kuan Yin and our theme of compassion are these, and these are on your little snapshot card, which is available at 30daysgoddess.com, free, just print it out. And I'm a big fan of Staples. Shout out to Staples. I'm not an affiliate, but I just enjoy my local Staples so much. And you can get them printed in full color at Staples really easily. And I find that a visually rewarding addition to my daily practices. I make a little envelope, a matching little envelope for the Goddess Magic patrons. And then I tuck all the cards in my little envelope, and then I have them with me in the mornings for my daily practice, and I'll pull the cards out and page through them. And I really find that the meanings change and the questions kind of evolve depending on my mood, what's happening in the world, the environment, the state of my day will impact. I'll see something new in the cards. So that is something that I recommend. It's just a very simple way of continuing to root into, continuing to explore, continuing to deepen into, continuing to steep in these themes and practices and ideas all month long without making it into a giant to-do list or without making it be too much, but revisiting and letting these things help you as you remember, reclaim, and return. And so here we are with our questions for the month. What does it feel like to listen to the cries of the world? So Kuan Yin is the Buddhist goddess of compassion, she who hears the cries of the world. How are we hearing the cries of the world? And I know that you know that there are many cries of this world to listen to right now. I find it helpful to choose. We can't do everything. I do find it helpful, instead of getting stuck in a place of indecision, that there's so many things that cry out to us that we can't decide, to go ahead and choose and commit to those things and choose an area and then contribute money or contribute time or contribute resources or contribute attention to that area, because we cannot all do everything, but we can all do something. So listening to the cries of the world is very important. It's also very challenging because there are many, many cries to hear. And saying that we choose one doesn't mean we don't hear the others, but we pick one to direct our focus so that we don't get stuck in a point of indecision and fatigue. And so what does it feel like to listen to the cries of the world? How can I respond? Another question to consider this month is, do you have compassion for yourself? How might you practice more self-compassion? And there's always room, trust me, there's always room for a little more self-compassion. Many of us are very harsh with ourselves, and we can always practice a little more self-compassion. Another question is, where am I journeying? This is this crossroads time of the year where we've come into the brightness, the peak, the vibrancy of the midpoint of the year, and now it's time to choose where we're going next. And so where are we journeying? What are you discovering? Do you trust yourself to follow your own path? Do you trust yourself to follow your own path? And then listening, and this is part of self-compassion too. I have my heart t-shirt on to remind me of self-compassion. But ask yourself, I deeply believe in the wisdom of our bodies. The body is an oracle, a wisdom guide, a teacher, a companion, a friend. And so ask yourself where you're feeling tight or constricted or controlled or confined or closed in. And then ask yourself how you wish to open up, to liberate, to set yourself free. What does that feel like? How does it land in your body? What are you deconstricting? What are you deconstructing? What knots are you untying? And then another question, and I love this one. I'm going to talk a little bit more about pleasure and desire and joy, but what happens if you orient your life by joy? What happens if you drop in, if you listen, and then orient your life by joy? What feels good? What feels liberating? What feels delightful? What feels inspiring? And the final question is, what's the sweet song of my own approval? And we're actually going to end with that one, so I will come back to that question soon. But first, I wanted to go ahead and draw your attention to a couple of quotes, and that is, one is from David Kuntz, and the author of the book Stopping, and it is this. I use this one in one of my books, maybe Replenish. I'm not quite sure which one I put it in, but it's in there. A too busy, distracted, and unfocused life kills the power of imagination, an essential part of any healthy life. If we cannot imagine what we dream or passionately desire, we will never be able to realize it. Stopping is a friend of the imagination. During our time of stopping, our imaginations are given space and encouragement to soar. So how might you grant yourself some time and space in the busyness of summer to stop and consider what I said at the beginning about looking with clarity at your lives and choices and choosing where to go next. So where might you stop? Where might you stop and consider? And then I had another quote, and this one is from, so it's a little quote that came from a larger post that theoretically was by Einstein about the God of Spinoza. So you can go on a little rabbit trail with this God of Spinoza concept if you want to. But one of the conclusions here is the only thing for sure is that you are here, that you are alive, that this world is full of wonders. The only thing for sure is that you are here, you are alive, and this world is full of wonders. And so then I have somebody that I follow on Substack who goes by the tagline of Virgin Monk Boy. His name is really Alexander Constantinopoulos, and but I love his style. He has really good, if you end up, I'll link to him below, but he has these nice little dispatches. He works a lot with Mary Magdalene, and Mary Magdalene kind of messages from Mary Magdalene, and so there's little notes for the day. So he responded to this God of Spinoza article or concept, and he says this, and I wanted to share that with you because I think it connects to our theme of pleasure and desire and listening to our own lives. So this is from him. Oh, I know this sermon. This is the one where God finally hires a therapist, quits religion, and moves into a treehouse. First off, bless your friend. So this was forwarded from a friend. Maybe she is dreaming deeper than the rest of us dare. It happens to the best mystics. Now about this so-called God of Spinoza. It's not the vending machine deity of televangelists or the narcissistic sky dad who needs constant praise. It's the God who is the dance of atoms, the spark in your lover's eye, the belly laugh over tacos. The God who doesn't ask for worship, just your full-on aliveness. The real heresy here, joy, pleasure, trusting your body instead of apologizing for it. Seeing divinity not in stained glass, but in your dog's wagging tail and your kid's chocolate-smeared face. This ain't atheism. This is advanced faith. This is advanced faith. Now, if you excuse me, I'll need to repent by paddleboarding. So that was a quote from Virgin Monk Boy, or Alexander Constantinopoulos, on a Substack. But I loved that notion that embodiment, pleasure, joy, delight, chocolate-smeared faces, your dog's wagging tail, that's seeing divinity there, finding the goddess in those moments of everyday magic. That's not atheism. That is advanced faith. That is advanced faith. So I wanted to share that with you. And then I'm going to switch on over to another poem from the guidebook section for this month. And I do note that this book is getting large and heavy, so I apologize for having to glance over to be able to read it to you. But anyway, it has to stay on the desk because it's too heavy. And I wanted to share this roadmaps of return because I find, as I'm mentioning, reaching the crossroads and considering it's a contemplative time of year, but not the contemplation of the cave. It's the contemplation of the crossroads, the contemplation of choosing, the contemplation of this bright energy, this bright and burgeoning energy of summer produces a different kind of contemplation. And it's which brightness, which spark to nurture, which fire to follow. And so roadmaps of return. And I feel this way. Summer often brings for me a sensation of being very sped up. I do what I call a cauldron month in August, where I get to the crossroads and I get into the cauldron and I steep in my own life. Let it bubble and brew. Let things rise to the surface and scoop them out. Let the flavors meld. And so cauldron month is coming up, but summer always brings this deep call for me. And I get very sped up and kind of fragmented feeling in the summer. There's a lot of calls for time and attention, and there's a lot of brightness of new ideas and possibility. And I start thinking a lot about next year and the things that I'd like to create to support us in our practices next year. And I know it seems early to be thinking about next year, but in order to think about next year, the percolation has to start happening now in order to actually get those things into people's hands before next year begins. So summer is when there's a lot of bubbling that happens in summer for me, and directions are formed and found in the summer, I find. So roadmaps of return. And this one, I wrote this one last year or 2 years ago or something like that, but I really find it speaks to me right now because I'm having that sensation of being kind of sped up and buzzy and a little splintered. So it's roadmaps of return. I know I am getting off track, abandoning myself, disconnecting from center, stepping out of sync. When? I skip yoga for more than 2 days in a row. Someone asked me to do something and I want to yell at them or run away. Someone asked me for help or to go somewhere and I feel like crying. My kids ask me a question and I yell what at them like I'm a monstrous spider. That's an Anne Lamott reference. I check my email and social media before going outside. I wake up thinking about my to-do list instead of my prayers. I wake up tired instead of inspired. When I look at this list and alter my perspective to compassion instead of shame, I see it also holds the truth of what I need to come back home, to feel whole and healthy and capable instead of frayed and worn. Our signs that we are off center are also our roadmaps of return. I need daily yoga and enough time alone to replenish and renew myself so I can treat others with patience, love, and compassion. I need margins for magic and space for inspiration. I need enough sleep to wake restored with prayers on my lips and inspiration lighting my heart. I need to be outside with my feet on the earth and the wind in my hair. I need to honor my core daily practices as inviolate and holy, for they are soul-sustaining in the most vital of ways. So I wanted to draw your attention to that concept, that our longings, our sensation that we're getting off track or we're getting off center, those things are our roadmaps of return. So what do you need? What do you long for? What do you feel like you're not getting? And allow yourself to consider that right there is your roadmap of return. That's your recipe of repair, is found right there inside of the longing or the sense of disconnection or distraction or splintering or fragmentation. Right there inside of that sensation is your roadmap of return. And so then I had a printed out poem to share with you along the same kind of lines that's called My Inner Guide Speaks. And so I would invite you to consider, as you treat yourself with compassion this month, what is your inner guide telling you? Sometimes the voice of the inner guide can feel very muffled by the social media, by news, by paying attention to all the things that need our attention, to kids home from school, to workplace demands, whatever, our inner guide's voice can feel kind of muffled. And so this is a good prompt to consider as you treat yourself and others with compassion this month. So you might use this as just a journal prompt. My inner guide speaks ... and then explore how does your inner guide speak? And here's the poem. My inner guide speaks in poems and rainbows, crows on the wing and mist in the trees. She speaks the language of roses and slow time, of presence, play, and possibility. She tells of center tending and vow keeping, of small delights, ordinary wonder, and everyday magic. She knows stone secrets and moss marvels, the delights of feathers, mushrooms, tea, and wild plums. My inner guide is alive with enthusiasm and inspiration, eyes sparkling, singing with the wind, kneeling on the earth, hands pressed flat to match her heartbeat with the pulse of the sacred. She is alive in me every day, and I share her voice through words and wonder, through patient pauses, and the often joyful, sometimes exhausting, ever ongoing dance of listening and return. The dance of listening and return. And I said I was going to talk about the sweet song of our own approval. So I am, even though I've passed 20 minutes here. But the question is, what is the sweet song of your own approval? And this is based on a story that I've told before in past videos, which is, I've said this a couple years ago. Somebody gave me a compliment and I told it to Mark and I said, this is the sweet song. Oops, I got dust in my hair. This is the sweet, I said something to the effect of, yes, the sweet song of approval that I love to hear. And then I realized, what's the sweet song of my own approval? I think it's really, really important when we consider compassion, when we consider action, when we consider crossroads of change and choice and choosing, and when we consider creativity and what we're lifting up into the brightness of possibility. What is the sweet song of our own approval? And can we listen to it? Do we know what it sounds like? And so I would like to close our time together today with this poem about the sweet song of our own approval, and also leave that with you as a prompt. You might write, what is the sweet song of my own approval? ... Sometimes we need to remember that the sweet song of approval we long to hear can come from our own lips. Sometimes we need to know that the bright beacon of hope we long to see can shine from our own eyes. Sometimes we need to realize the soft touch of nurturing we long to feel can come from our own fingertips. Sometimes we need to know that the pause of renewal we long to take, the deep breath of grace we long to inhale, can be granted by our own selves right now. Sometimes we understand that the sensation of freedom we long to taste is on our own tongues and skimming across our own shoulders. Sometimes we sense that we already have what we need, and so cheering ourselves onward, we find ourselves taking tentative yet purposeful steps in the direction we wish to go. No more waiting for someday or wishing for permission. Here we are, our own power recollected and guiding our way. So I hope you make some space this month to listen to the sweet song of your own approval, to practice your own advanced faith in savoring the chocolate or the dog's wagging tail. I hope that you recollect your own power and let it guide your way. And I hope that you remember that your longing is your roadmap of return. Thank you so much for being here. Happy July. I look forward to continue sharing space with you as this month continues to unfold. Thank you so much for being here. Keep living your magic, everybody. Happy July. Bye-bye.